Stephen A., is Kerr right about KD?
No, I don't think he's right. And here's why I don't think he's right. Because if you ask Steve Kerr who'd he prefer, it would be Michael Jordan, and he knows it. And that's the reality of the situation. Now, if you're speaking purely as a skilled situation, then of course you understand where he's coming from. KD 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan and can do things very few humans on the planet can do. He can handle, he can shoot, he's a sniper extraordinaire. He's got long-range capability. All of those things are true. The game was played differently at that particular juncture, but KD could have played in any era. I'm not trying to sweat that. I'm just simply saying that even though the advent of the three-point shot had come into play, the bottom line is it wasn't utilized as effectively as it is in today's game, because back in the day, it was far more physical, and you were allowed to do more things defensively, which is why stuff like the Jordan rules came into play, because of the way that he was allowed to be mugged by the Detroit Pistons and later on the New York Knicks, as Max could attest to, from the Ken Bannisters to the Charles Oakleys and Anthony Masons, and the list goes on and on and on. You just had a physical brand of basketball that was allowed. And so because of that, people didn't exercise the use of the three-point shot the way that they're allowed to do today, where you literally can sit up there and get thrown out of a game or get teed up or pick up multiple fouls for having bad breath, for crying out loud. That's how soft today's game is compared to what it used to be. The road to prosperity that you had to endure back in the day was far more arduous than it is today. And that's what you have to take into consideration. So for me, what I hold against Kevin Durant, specifically as it pertains to this comparison or this quote by Steve Kerr, is A, the times that we're playing in now compared to what it was then, and B, the one thing to hold against Kevin Durant. We all know what Kevin Durant is capable of, but it's whether or not he wants to. Kevin Durant, once Kyrie went down, and obviously James Harden was hobbled, was forced to step out of character and to be an assassin. Michael Jordan had that in his DNA from the moment he stepped on the court as an NBA player. That's the difference, and that is why I say no.
Steve Kerr is right, and he chose his words carefully. If he would have said the greatest ever, no. Michael Jordan's the greatest ever. If he would have said the most talented ever, no. I would say LeBron James or Michael Jordan are the most talented ever, even though KD shoots well. And KD shouldn't just be called gifted, because it's one thing to have talent. It's another thing to hone it into skill. KD is extremely skilled. He deserves credit for the work he's put in. But he said gifted, Stephen A. Gifts include size, right? You wouldn't say that size is a talent, but you can call it a gift. It is a gift. And there's never been a player at KD's size with the overall package of talent and skill, athletic ability, and honed craft as KD. He's right about the most gifted. Now, that's different than saying you always have the wisdom to deploy those gifts optimally, right? He's super efficient, but as good as his basketball IQ is, no one's is LeBron's. Just like when I say Kyrie is the most skillful player maybe ever, he's certainly one of them. But that doesn't mean he has the wisdom to deploy those skills running a team the way James Harden does, who's not as gifted, but is better because he understands the game a little bit differently or is able to make himself play that way. Saying gifted for KD points to everything that you always say, Stephen A. 6'11", 7'6" wingspan, can hit infinite range, as Steve Kerr said, can kill you from anywhere on the floor, can also defend. Check, 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 check. Most gifted. Most talent plus skill at the size, but not the greatest of all time. I think Steve Kerr chose his words carefully.
Well, if size is a gift, so is mentality. And what I'm saying to you is that Michael Jordan has that mentality that we have consistently clamored for KD to have. For example, one could easily argue if KD had that mentality, he would have been strong enough to offset the strong-headedness and the strong-willedness of a Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City. And they wouldn't have given up a 3-1 lead to Golden State, and they may have won the title that year. All right, that Golden State lost to Cleveland. One could argue that. One could argue that if KD had been that way, he might have had a couple of titles. One could have argued he could have beaten Miami the year, even though Russell Westbrook and James Harden were relatively young. One could have argued that they would have beaten Miami when LeBron was still in search of his first title, because he didn't run across a KD that had an assassin's mentality. He ran across a KD who was incredibly gifted, but also judicious in terms of making sure the glory was spread and Russell Westbrook and Harden and others would get their opportunity to shine, and he was focused on playing basketball the right way. That same KD departed from OKC and went to Golden State. Why? Because there was a brand of basketball that he wanted to play.
Well,
and rather than enforce his will upon the franchise in OKC, he said, I'm going to go elsewhere, all right, where it already exists, and matriculate to that, and we'll see what happens. So
Well,
as far as I'm concerned, if height is a gift, if that size is a gift, mentality is a gift too.
I think
and Michael Jordan had that.
I think that's a valid point. The only thing is that you have to consider, because we're both parents, and you know, and I got 3 kids, you know, in one way, they are the way they are when they're born. Like, they keep that basic personality. But in another way, you know, nurture has something to do with it too. Your environment and the way and what you're exposed to. So that is true for your mentality. But something like size, you're just born with it. That's just a pure gift. I think that's why Steve Kerr said it that way. He's not calling him the greatest. He's saying the most gifted, and I agree with that.
Well, I don't think Michael Jordan should be insulted or anything like that, but I respectfully disagree with Steve Kerr because of the discussion we just had. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.